This is Gilbert Andrew Garcia of A Tip from Gilbert, talk, inspiration, and prayer. Listen to my show every Monday from 11 to 12 on KWWJ 1360 AM, KYOK 1140 AM, KCOH at 1230 KCOH.com, Sankeet Radio at 95.1 FM, 1460 AM, and Latino Sports, KEYH 850 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then. All right, Houston and Harris County, you got me. A tip for me, talk, inspiration, and prayer with Gilbert Garcia. I want to thank y'all for listening. And, of course, we're here every Monday from 11 to 12. And I have a very special guest on. I've had him before. He's a good man. You're going to enjoy him, but he's got lots of information. I think that's important for people to hear. And that's Mr. Mike Doyle, of course, who's a very successful lawyer, but more importantly, or now more recently, he is now the head of our Harris County Democratic Party. Welcome, Mike Doyle.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Well, you're so welcome to be here. And again, I do want to reflect on, it's been kind of, I don't know the right way, but we've been very kind of depressed at my house with this flood and all the stories of all these incredible, beautiful human beings who lost their lives, these young kids, and the stories of these couples. It's just dreadful. And I'm going to say a prayer at the end, and I asked my priest, Father Tom, to call in. He's probably going to say a prayer, because in these times, it's so easy to lose your faith. And I know you're a man of faith, because I know how important your straight Jesuit education was to you, and I know how much you give back to that school and how much it impacted your life. Tell us a little bit about that real quick, and what does this mean to you, and how do we make sense of this whole thing?
Well, the Jesuits are pretty good about kind of explaining things in a intellectual way, but they're also really good about understanding that faith is a gift. I don't ever feel that faith is something that I can figure out, and I've honestly have been blessed with it in my life, and that's something that just is part of me. And that's never going to change, because I know it's here. And so when I see something like that, I know that, it's not that there's a purpose, but there's a way to overcome this. And there's a way that we need to do what we need to do, because everything that happens bad, it doesn't mean that we should stop. It means we do more. That's kind of what I learned.
Well, that's a wonderful and beautiful thing to say. I'm trying. It's just so hard. I think about my daughter. And she's my only child left at home. She's going to be going to University of Chicago, and she's the apple of my eye and all those things. I just think about how they did a lot of camps in the summer, and it's just unbelievable. And I've had a lot of friends of mine who somehow were touched, whether it's some that knew some of those families from Kincaid, or whether it's one of my partners who went to camp there, years ago, but went to camp there. One of my other partners has her kids that do camp. They're counselors at a sister camp nearby, and they didn't do it this summer, the first summer to not be counselors. And all these things just kind of come together. But tell us a little bit about, you're Houstonian, right?
Well, my dad got in the Army in 1974, and we actually moved out to Missouri City. So I don't know what you call it, Fort Bendian, but that's where I was raised. But I went to high school at Jesuit, as you pointed out, on a scholarship. Back then, it was an hour drive in.
No kidding.
It was a long way.
And how was your time there?
I really had a great time. I mean, I'd mentioned before we got started, I was a scholarship. They did a work study, which meant that if I wasn't playing sports or doing something, I was working with the janitorial crew. And that's where I learned the word güero, because that was me.
Well, that also is where you learned hard work, because you've been a very successful lawyer, and you've worked hard. I know you started at a big law firm, and then now you're doing all kinds of things. So I congratulate you and salute you. You went to St. Mary's Law School?
No.
I'm so sorry.
I went to Virginia. And came back to UT.
I apologize for saying that.
That's okay. Well, my wife went to St. Mary's. It's not an insult.
There you go. My sister went to St. Mary's Law School. We got a caller already, though, Michael. Who do we have there? Is there a Junior on the phone? Junior, are you there, my friend?
Yeah. I hope I'm not off topic, throwing y'all off. But
no.
I was calling. Okay, I've been listening to you since you came to KCOH and KWWJ, and that's the reason I voted for you, because a lot of people call these two radio stations. They long-winded. They do a lot of talking, but they never support nothing. But the reason I voted for you for mayor, because you put your money where your mouth is at the black radio station. So I want to thank you for that. I would have called you earlier, but they don't get a number out that much, and I finally was able to get the number down. But this is what I want to ask you, Gilbert.
Go for it.
A lot of people are playing the blame game because of this tragedy that happened in Kerrville, Texas, with the flood. In my opinion, and I'm gonna ask you this and hang up. My opinion is that I don't care what you would have had in place. You could have followed everything to the T, but when God talk, ain't nothing we can do nothing about it. Now, it was a natural disaster. Something like this don't happen that regular, but you could have had everything in place. But when a disaster like this comes into play, ain't nothing you can do about it. What's your opinion about that, Gilbert? And once again, thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Sure. Don't go yet, Junior. And I'm also going to let Mike Doyle answer. I think that my guest last week was Mayor Anise Parker, former Mayor Anise Parker. And as we all know, she's going to be running for county judge. And I'm not trying to make this a political item here, but she said it best when she says there'll be plenty of time to go and look at the facts and to figure out where things fell through. There'll be plenty of time. She says right now, the whole thing should be search and rescue, and to get peace of mind to these families and healing. She said that is the number one priority. And I agree with that. There'll be plenty of time to look at it, to figure out why monies weren't brought in, or, why they didn't do certain things. And it really shouldn't be about blaming, but more about preparing for the next one. And I'm kind of in your camp, which is it was an act of God. I'm not so sure. The rains and everything were so incredible. I'm not so sure anything could have been enough warning, kind of like a tornado. When a tornado comes, there's not a lot of warning. And we all do our best to try to have warning and warning systems. But sometimes you just cannot. It's just an act of God. What say you there, Mike Doyle? I mean, you have a strong opinion one way or the other there?
Well, I do think it's too early to let folks who are responsible for different things, whether it's the government, whether the folks running camps, off the hook yet. I just don't know.
Right.
I do know there was a camp out there where, they were right upstream and they saved everybody because they were paying attention. And it's when you hear that, you start thinking, look, this can't be another Uvalde where, the governor comes up and says, hey, it was just an act of God. We're so sorry. And everybody was great. And then you find out later about all the terrible things that weren't done. And so I think it needs paying attention to, because not just to take care of the folks that, at the end of the day lost their life, but I don't think we honor them by just saying, whoop, stuff happened.
Yep. I think that's a great point. And, Junior, it also goes back to things like, I don't know, and I may be saying things that are not correct, but I'm just going by what I read, I think, in the Chronicle, and this needs to be explored further. So I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but it looks like there was some ARPA money that was available for that county, and they decided not to take it. And I don't know if you have any more information about that.
I read something last week or yesterday, actually, and I think a Texas Observer that they actually took it, but it went to different things.
Interesting. So
if that's the case, that's a real problem.
That's right. And so, Junior, what we're referring to, of course, is during COVID, of course, and it happened to be during President Biden's watch. And it's not a partisan thing. It was an emergency to get federal stimulus dollars, out into the public to keep the economy going and trying to use it for infrastructure and so forth. And at the end of the day, I had read that there was money available, and I had read that they didn't take it. Mike Doyle thinks they took it, but just didn't use it for some of this warning. We'll get more information on that, Junior. But I think that you have a great point about sometimes, the Lord works in mysterious ways, and you got to have faith to just understand that there's a reason, and we may not know it or understand it, but there is one. So, Junior, I don't know if we covered what you wanted, but, it's very kind of you to say those nice words about me. At the end of the day, I think it's important. I just got tired of all the negativity in the world, and I just felt there needed to be some sort of spiritual element, and there just needed to be someone that will highlight some good in the world. whether it's sex trafficking survivors, cancer survivors, and we've had all those things on my show, or even things like the DA talking about how does the whole grand jury system work, try to educate the public. And so that's what we try to do here on this show.
No, all I have to say lastly is you and the other gentlemen, y'all covered what I wanted to talk about. But if you run for mayor again, you got my vote, because like I say, a whole lot of people do a lot of talking. They call themselves contributors. You never met them, but you put your money where your mouth is. And thank you for supporting KCOH and KWWJ. Thank you, Gilbert.
My pleasure. Thank you for calling in. Please call in again there, Junior. All right, that was Junior. Junior, what a great guy he was.
And he's right. I mean, it's important to support those media stations.
Well, I appreciate
it really
that.
is.
And just like anything else, if you look at our firm as an example, we're not a behemoth. We're not a $1 trillion firm, and we're a small entrepreneurial firm. And I just believe in, these small media outlets, whether they're newspapers, whether they are radio stations, we've got to support them, because sometimes they're the only voice that's out there.
Well, also they're often, my brother, one of my brothers has been in the newspaper business. He got out of about 5 years ago, but the lack of local media attention. I mean, at this point, if we want to really know what happened in Kerrville, there was no real newspaper. There was a newspaper, but not really paying attention. So those are the ones that kind of keep focused where it needs to focus.
Well, amen to that. I know we've got lots of callers. I just want to make sure none of them drop, because I want to get into something. If you wouldn't mind, producer, hold me that sign again. There's a Courtney. Miss Courtney, I don't want to. Miss Courtney, are you there? And then I think we have a Ray. Miss Courtney, what do you got for us today on a tip from Gilbert?
First off, good morning. And I just have a quick question. I was just wondering what should be the top priorities for a Texas legislator in regards to the flooding in Kerrville that occurred last week?
Very good. And I'm going to take it a little bit broad, if you don't mind. There's going to be a special session, right?
Well, there is. It's happening next week.
Okay. And so what are the, for lack of a better word, things on the agenda? And hopefully, let's answer the question, is the flooding or anything about that on the agenda? But I know there's some other things on that agenda. Do you want to just answer that question, but a little bit broader? What's going to be on the agenda for the legislature on this special session?
Well, flooding's on there, but I unfortunately, what I believe is going to be the very first thing that's there, and it's kind of revealing a little bit about the folks who've been running the state for so long, so badly, in my view. They're going to try and redistrict, because the allegation is that some of these congressional districts, like Sheila Jackson Lee, Sylvester Turner's, Congressman Garcia's, are biased against white voters. And so they're likely to redraw those to try and make, at this point, Trump was demanding more seats so that he can push his stuff through. And I think that's going to be the very first thing taken up, which tells you a little bit about real priorities.
Wow. Let me ask you this, and stay with us, Courtney. Just explain to our listeners, how does a special session work? So after the legislature, if I'm correct, meets every 2 years.
For 6
and
months.
Of course, and they come in for 6 months and they do all their things and have all the bills, et cetera. But the governor has the ability to call additional time or a special legislative session. Is that right?
Sure. And 2 years ago, trying to push through vouchers, he kept bringing them back until, was it September, October? I mean, basically it was punitive, and they still didn't do it.
But the bottom line is, it's something that it's at his discretion.
It's at his discretion, and he sets the agenda.
And all the reps just have to go.
You don't have a choice. It's like you're called to quorum. They'll come out and arrest you if they need to.
That is incredible. And I want to go through something else real quick, which is, how does redistricting work? In other words, I don't know why I had this thing in my mind that it's a regular course of operation here in America. There's the census where we go through and count everybody, et cetera. And then they look at it and they say, okay, now we need to look at, do certain states lose representation in the Congress or not? And some people gain some. And then they try to make the maps, in theory, as fair as they can and balance, et cetera. That happens on a every 10-year basis. And is that normally right?
Well, if you rely on the Constitution, yes.
Okay. And where are we now, and why are we going through this now?
Well, we're going through it because President Trump demanded it. That was his demand. I don't know if y'all read about it. It was kind of a minor story, but he basically called the Texas Republicans in the House of Representatives and said, guess what? I need more seats. I'm tired of this being too close votes and not getting what I want through the Congress. So he's insisted upon it, and that's why it's on there. It's extremely irregular. There's not really a constitutional basis for it. They tried this with Tom DeLay back in 2004-5, it's wrong, and it's dead wrong.
Well, let's go back. I want to come back to this issue, but
Because, by the way, it's not Texas getting more seats. This is just trying to redraw the lines to see if they can win more seats to push through the Trump agenda. That's it.
I want to hold this thought, but let's go back to Courtney's. Is flooding going to be on the agenda?
They've said it is. So, what they're going to do about it or what they're not going to do, who knows? I mean, I mentioned before, Uvalde, they promised all kind of things and they did nothing. And we know that the governor got up there and didn't tell the truth the first time. Whatever the story is, I'm really concerned we're never going to really get into the bottom of it because too many hands are on it.
Wow. So, Courtney, hopefully we answered your question that we got to have faith, as they say, that it's on the agenda. They're going to be covering it, and let's see what comes out of it. Certainly, there are some resources. Hopefully, they'll be devoting more resources to some sort of alarm system or something of that nature. Did we cover what you need there, Court?
Yes, you guys did. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got a lot of other people here that are on call. Stay with me, Ray, Mark, Bobby, Brother Chris. And of course, I want to come back to Mike Doyle in just a second. Let's take one more call, then we'll come back, Michael, about, again, more about the whole concept of, if it's my understanding that, and of course, we all say Sheila because she's a legend, but Sheila's seat, which of course then became Mayor Turner, but Sheila's seat.
Barbara Jordan, Mickey Dooley.
Yeah. It's a historic seat
18th.
that had no representation to this very close vote. So we'll come right back to that. What was that other caller real quick? That was a Ray. Ray, are you there? Ray.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. You got me, Gilbert Garcia, tip from me, with Mike Doyle, the Harris County Democratic Party chairman. Also, just a very fine lawyer here. What do you got for us?
Well, it was the idea of this storm being an act of God, which it is. There are lots of things out there, act of God, but when you have seen in history that this happens, then you do what we do to prevent, minimize the damage. All right. So this isn't the first time this kind of flooding has happened. Yeah, this may be significant, but we have an opportunity to react properly, to prepare for, and to prevent, minimize, what have you. As you all were talking a little bit earlier, you hear where the Biden administration sent money to these people. Though the folks who turned down that money and didn't spend it the way it was supposed to, they should be held for manslaughter.
Well,
a lot of this was not 100% preventable, but a lot of it could be. Just do what you were supposed to do with the money. Do that. Let's see what happens.
Ray, I hear you, and what's interesting is it kind of reminds me of the PPP, and our firm took the PPP, and of course that was the money for companies based upon the number of employees that they had. And remember, that's taxpayer money. I mean, it's our money. And like anything else, the government chooses what to do with the government's money, which is the taxpayers' money. In other words, the government has chosen to subsidize philanthropy, which is why we have 501c3 or nonprofits that we can write off our taxes. The government has chosen to subsidize the housing industry, which is why we can write off our interest on our mortgages. So at the end of the day, when I see people who criticize people for taking the PPP, I say to myself, wait a minute, that was their right. And we were criticized. And I said to myself, to people that criticized, I said, listen, I did not know, and none of us knew, whether the whole bond market was going to come to a crash. And what I needed was to make sure I could take the taxpayer money that was allocated to companies all over America, and I could tell our employees with a straight face they have a job. I mean, I was able to look in the face and say, you don't have to worry. You have a job no matter how bad this gets. And so when I see those things and I see that money could have been allocated, if it's accurate, I have very strong feelings just like you do, which is it's almost like an obligation to utilize it for the good of the community. I'm going to get more fact checking on that because I think it's a big issue, and we'll try to get more information.
Yeah, there's detail behind it.
Go ahead, Ray.
There's detail behind it based upon video presentation. Now, that's not AI driven, and that is fact. There's a level of guilt that folks should have and should be prosecuted for not doing what they were supposed to do with that money. A lot of times that government money comes through, it's got a label on it. If you don't use it for that purpose, then you send it back. But these people actually cause the death count to go up. And politically, I don't get into party line politics so much, but they had no problem throwing DEI out there. Then they were referring to that one fire, that one fire official who from Austin who did not respond to a call because of the claims of some money being owed or something like that. But they had no problem. The problem that I have, one of the problems I have, one is you lost a lot of lives that maybe if you could have prevented 1 or 2 or 3, man, that's on somebody's head. And if you don't call them people on it, then what's going to happen is they're going to keep doing that kind of stuff and causing more loss of life. If we don't highlight that, they will under the political guise cause more people to die because they don't put warning systems in, they don't take other information. And the DEI thing is a tilt toward black people, period. Because we are the least beneficial, I recognize that. But it's always that saying we got inferior folks in here doing things when actually I call it we have dumb white men in here doing some stuff that's really causing this kind of harm. I give them their label back, but I give them my label.
Well, Ray, I appreciate you. You know, I think that's really the point that Mike Doyle was making, which is we owe it as an obligation to the tragedy, the families, to really get to the bottom of it and use it for good. So we do the things we need to do for the future because this won't be the last flood. And I thought I read, Ray, that there was a flood like in 1987 or something like that. I remember it.
Yes.
So this
absolutely, it's been published.
This won't be the last
that is
flood.
Published. Yeah. That is published in history. It's no different than an airplane investigation, an airplane crashes or something, and you got to go check out the black box and the voice recorder. It's no different than the follow-up. You come back and tell me this could have been minimized, that we could have saved 5 or 10 lives if we had warning systems. People didn't want to hear the sirens. I mean, I know I've heard that before in some coming from some elite communities before. We don't want to hear the train coming through. So we don't want the sirens on. Okay, this caused some people to die. And there should be my point is there should be accountability to it. So we're going to have to name some names and put some people out there. There's this thing that's come down in party politics for the past 20 plus years where we call a dog a rat. And they get away with it because there's no pushback on that issue. And it may cross partisan lines, but we know where we hear it coming from right now. And I think that we don't let anybody off the hook with this loss of life. A lot of this is preventable. Just like a lot of Houston flooding preventable, a lot of this is preventable. And I'll listen. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you for calling in. Yeah, I mean, he's got a great point. I understand, and I understand the frustration. You know, we just we're showing the clip, those who are not online. Boy, look how fast that was. I don't know how much that time lapse is, but I mean, it's unbelievable how much that water rose. It's incredible. Let's go back to that next caller. We have a Mark. Mark, are you there? Mark. It's just frightening, that water.
You know, one of the things that kind of in my day job that you kind of look at is you can always look at the last 10 minutes or 5 minutes or hour. But if you look at a longer timeline, you start to see stop signs that people ran through. And I don't know for sure, but if there are stop signs that people ran through that said, hey, this was a way to stop this or reduce it, and they kept running through stop signs going back 10 years, that's important.
That's very important to know.
So you look at the timeline versus, well, the last 10 minutes, there's not much you can do.
Well, I want to change gears back to, if we could, to the legislature. But Mark, are you there? If not, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next call because I know we've got several calls waiting. Mark, are you there, pal? No, okay. Then because I was doing a call, let me go to the next one. What was the next one? It was Bobby. Bobby, you there, Bobby? Bobby. Hit me, Bobby. Well, I think we lost Mark and Bobby, but they'll call back. Call back, guys. I know you're there. So let's go back there, Mike Doyle. So am I correct that we had the tragic death of Sylvester Turner, and They just did not call a special election to fill that seat.
Could have been in May.
It could have been in May.
Yep.
Because that's the cycle.
Yep. Well, there was an election then.
Yeah.
In other words, it wouldn't have cost.
But it had to either be May or November.
That's it.
Okay.
And they being the governor, chose May.
Unilaterally.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then when we had this incredible legislation going through, it was just like one or two votes different. Isn't that correct?
Right.
So, and what I think what's worse about it is the district didn't have a voice. You know, it's one thing to say, well, would it have changed the outcome? Whether it did, I mean, whether it would have or would not have. The real key is, shouldn't those citizens have had a voice? Right?
What good possible explanation or excuse can you have for refusing to let somebody have a representative? There is no good excuse.
Yeah. What
There
was it?
isn't.
What
There
was
wa-
it?
well, it was a lie. It was like, oh, Harris County can't run elections, so I'm just going to kick it to November, which was a complete lie after we've had 4 straight up elections where the Republicans are making no issue. It runs really well. It was just it's not even an excuse. It was just a lie.
Wow. And so let me ask you this. So here we are. They're going to redistrict, and remind us again. I just went through the scenario of how it normally works. So they're going to now call. Can you just call a special redistricting?
Well,
I mean, is that
there's some
legal?
well, I mean, there were some lawsuits back in 2005. I mean, Chris Feldman, who's a lawyer here in town, whose father was the former city attorney. I mean, he was involved in a real hero in kind of making sure that back in delay, it required delay to basically resign his seat back then. I don't know if you'll remember, but because of that whole thing. But no, I mean, there are certain.
Was it the same thing?
Yeah,
that they were trying to do mid.
Yeah. They were basically trying to get rid of, among others, Lloyd Doggett up in Austin. It became kind of the redraw in his district as many times as they could. I mean, he had a district at one point that went from Austin all the way along 35 down to Laredo.
Wow.
And it was all about trying to redraw the lines no matter what to pick their voters. That's what it is. I mean, redistricting is about them picking their voters, not representatives being picked by the voters. It's the other way around.
And so the outcome then back then was, did it hold up? I mean, what does history tell us?
Part of it. I mean, there were some judges that kind of followed the law and about what you could do and what you can't. I wasn't directly involved, so I don't want to misstate what happened. But I do know that there were some consequences. The delay was required to resign because of that, which was a big deal because he was the Speaker of the House. Whether legally it can be stopped, I don't know. I'm a little concerned because we have so many Trump-appointed judges that seem to find loyalty a bigger deal than what they're supposed to do. But it certainly doesn't make sense for the people in the district. I mean, this is attempting to redraw the lines because Trump demanded it. I want more votes. And that's not something that's supposed to happen by the Constitution. And it's kind of like the Constitution only matters when we say it does.
Wow. Holy cow. Do we have another caller there? What's that last one? Bobby, are you there? I want to come right back. What do you got there, Bobby, for me on a tip from me? And I got Mike Doyle here from the Harris County Democratic Party. We're talking a little bit about the, of course, terrible flood. We're talking a little bit about faith. And we're talking about, of course, Sheila Jackson Lee and her legacy, especially what's going on in the legislature. But what do you got?
Yeah, Gilbert, you're a church boy, so you heard it say, yeah, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. But Gilbert, the thing you should remember that you're in the valley of the shadow of death. And so sometimes it's flood, Gilbert, so don't be crazy. Just remember where you are and what's going to happen. Sooner or later, the water is going to come back to the valley, Gilbert. I mean, I love you. Hey, but Gilbert, buy your boat. Bye.
Thank you for calling in, my friend. Bobby, thank you as always. He's called in before. I think we have another caller already there, Mike Doyle. You're popular today. Who else do we have there? Producer, if you wouldn't mind putting that name up there for me. Technical difficulties. All right. They're coming in so fast we can't even field all those calls.
There's a lot happening in this world.
There is. And, it's just phenomenal. But let's
You
go.
mean the pace of things? Or?
Everything.
Yeah.
For example, every day I come to work, and in the old days, I would come to work, and now it's like, what did they do in Washington last night? What did they do over the weekend? I mean, it's just unbelievable. And then it becomes there's a tariff here, then there's a tariff there, and no, there's not. And it's the uncertainty that makes things so difficult for practitioners in the market.
Well, for businesses, small business, big business, it's a game. It's all about what can I do to get attention today. It's not about a plan. None of this is like, I think I've given up on thinking, okay, what's he doing? Other than, and my wife's convinced because she pays attention to the stock market more than I do, somebody's making a lot of money about these shifts up and down because they know about it ahead of time.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt that somebody's making a lot of money. Mark, are you there, Mark?
Yes, sir. How you doing? Gilbert, y'all doing all right this morning?
Yes,
We
sir.
are. You got me and you got Mike Doyle. And what do you got for us today on a tip from Gilbert?
Well, I just want to say this here. I heard one of your callers talking about we shouldn't be doing the blame game. But you know what, though, Gilbert, I want to say this here. He did say something about you. You are a good person, and I like you for representing both of our community stations when you come on and give us in our communities a good advertising for us, for our people. So I appreciate you representing both of our stations here. And Gilbert, when I talk about the blame game, I'm definitely going to blame a man like Donald Trump and Greg Abbott, especially Trump, because we got a convicted felon that's in the White House right now. And then when we saw what happened with the Uvalde, I go back, I made a mistake. I said standing with Uvalde last time when Greg Abbott came out and said, oh, DPS did this and done, they were the best of this. It just comes out and tell a lot of stories, man. And I just want to say this to the people, man, is that under this administration of Greg Abbott, especially under Trump, he's messing up not only African Americans, white Americans, Asian, every community. He is just destroying a lot of things that is in, you know what I'm saying? And he got a lot of people upset, man. And we have to find a way to get this corrupt people up out of this office, man, because what they doing right now, they should be held accountable with all the funding and the money that they taken away from certain organizations. And then, say for instance, if that caller would have said, well, the people in Acres Home with Third Ward, Fifth Ward, Cooley Homes, whatever you want to call them, if we didn't accept the money, and first thing we'd heard was, well, see what y'all did, y'all elected, so that's what you got to deal with. But we got to get to the meat and potatoes. We need to hold these people accountable for their actions, man. And I'm gonna tell you right now, with a man who's been convicted, I'm always gonna say it, with 34 felony accounts, man. How did we elect this man? It sounds like he's a dictator to me, y'all. He don't care what race it is. He's a dictator to me. So what you think about that?
Well, I appreciate your call. I think it all goes back to one thing. Regardless of where you are, it tells you the importance of voting. At the end of the day, it's all about, people are feeling angry. You know what? Express that at the polls, because that's our chance to really hold everybody accountable. And so, let me ask you that, and stay with us, Mark. What is the Democratic Party doing? And everybody knows I'm a Democrat, so I'll confess that here if that's required as a confession. It's not a confession; it's really a point of fact.
May I call you want me to use Latin?
Yeah, that's right.
I took 4 years of it.
There you go. So do you think this is going to go through, this whole thing of redistricting?
Well, because of what you said, because enough voters didn't turn out and vote against these folks. We know in the Senate, Dan Patrick does whatever the heck he wants, no matter how bad it is, including, letting the worst criminal as attorney general get away with impeachment just because he took $2 million. So this is an easy layup for him. I'm guessing by Monday or Tuesday, this whole change in the lines, trying to make it harder for Democrats, is going to go through by Monday or Tuesday next week. That's my prediction based on what I've heard.
So what can you do about it?
What we can do
you're
is,
you're the leader of the party.
Right.
And it's hard when the odds are, it's like the 300. It's hard.
You don't stop fighting. That's what you do. So we're going to have protests. We're actually working that, because this kind of came up literally last week.
Mm-hmm.
This Saturday around the county, we're going to have protests, because I think when you see 30,000 people or 25,000 people out there across the county, people start paying attention. And do I think it's going to change their hearts? No, because I think they're going to want to do what they want to do. But I think if they see enough folks out there this Saturday, we're not doing it just downtown. We're going to try and make it out in the communities. We're also organizing, likely for Monday, a caravan up to Austin to have our voice be heard. And I think if you see thousands of people out there, it might slow them down. And slowing them down gives enough time to kind of let people do it, as opposed to kind of ramrodding it through. So that's our plan in the next week.
Will there be any, I don't know, maybe I'm too optimistic here or idealistic. Will there be any hearings about any of this?
Well, they are
Will
going to
there
have
be-
hearings. That's what I'm saying. So I expect them maybe as soon as Monday. And I think they're going to open it, gavel in, and I wouldn't be surprised the Senate starts the hearings that day.
And will there be people there organized on behalf of, wait a minute, why are we doing
That's
this?
what we're working on.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. When I talk about
Yeah.
a caravan to Austin, I'm reaching out. We're talking to Austin. We're talking to Travis County, Dallas County. This is something I, as chair, have reached out to folks across the state. We've got congressional district chairs who are actually working to get those folks out there. So this is not like sitting on our hands. This is getting out there. So
And-
we need folks to be out there, both in the neighborhood here in Houston, Harris County, and then on Monday, rather, if they can.
And is there a target? Like, these are the four congressional, these are the four congressional districts we're going to put on the table to redistrict.
I know, and I haven't seen
Or is it the whole ball of wax?
Well, I mean, in other words, once you start adjusting one, you adjust all of
That's
them.
right.
But I think that Congresswoman Garcia's seat is likely to be reconfigured too,
Mhm.
and that could be a really big issue. I mean, here's the other part of it. And, I think that at this point we have folks who are elected. But if we've got more competitive districts, it means they've got more competitive districts. So this could be an opportunity for us. I don't want to leave that out. In other words, if they take
That's right.
Democrats and they move them into Republican seats and vice versa, guess what? We have some seats where we might be able to do what we need to do to start taking back seat by seat.
Well, it could be it could backfire on them.
That is my prayer.
Because if you take one that you had originally put all the, like,
Just imagine the balloon.
and then
Pressing the balloon.
you move them all out, that makes 5 more competitive districts all around them.
That's an opportunity.
That's
So, I mean, I don't think they should do this, but I also think that, we got to figure out where the lemonade is here
Mhm.
because this is an opportunity potentially.
So, Mark, I want to get you back, pal. What else do you got for us? And hopefully we answered your question. At the end of the day, holding people accountable, especially at the polls, is what we got to do.
Well, I want to say this, Gilbert, when you say holding people accountable, I just want to put a slogan out there. Across this whole country, there are more poor people than rich people. And we know the Republicans are looking to help the rich. We got to somehow get voters to the voters out there, to the poor people, and let them know our numbers are bigger than them. We just got to get them out there, get them registered and get them to the polls and get them to vote, and quit letting people come around in a nice, clean, convertible black Cadillac buying us a chicken sandwich or a hot dog sandwich for our vote. We got to stop that nonsense, man, because there are more poor people. And every time we get a chance to get elected, the Republicans come up with all kind of tricks of trade. Now, it started so big back in 2000. I know y'all remember them hanging chads. Boy, there's some cold son of guns, ain't they? But anyway, Gilbert, is it any way possible that I can leave a number with your producer? I want to get in contact with you about something, talk to you about something. But anyway,
Of course. Call back, give the number to them, and then I'm happy to talk to you later today.
okay, thanks, Gilbert.
My pleasure. Hold that thought. I know we got a brother Chris, and I think we have some others that were on. But coming back to Mike Doyle, and so the elections this November are.
Hello.
Oh, do we have someone? Is that brother Chris? Brother Chris, is that you?
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking the call, Gilbert, and good afternoon, good morning to your guests. Brother Gilbert and Mike Doyle, I have a different spin on this thing. Listen to me good, Mike. Mike, it's time for the Democrats to fight a different way and take the gloves off. You said 2 things here. I'm not a lawyer, but help me out. If the governor of Texas could have ordered that special election back in May, he chose to do it in November instead, fine, no problem. It put the voters at a disadvantage in Congress 18 district and have representation doing the so-called passing of the big beautiful bill, even though there wasn't anything beautiful about it. Then I'm looking at this redrawing of the district line. I don't know if you noticed or not. The district they are targeting are all Democratic districts or minorities. You have Silver Garcia, who's in Congress District 29. You have Al Green, who's in Congress District 9. Nobody's 18 right now because it's vacant. And you have Dallas in the Dallas area, you have Mark Vesey, okay, Congress District 33. They are all Democrats, they're minorities. However, they are planning to take some of the Republican voters out of Dan Crenshaw District, Congressional District 2, and they're going to take some Republican voters out of Wesley Hunt's district, which is Congressional District 38. Okay, they trying to give the Republicans the edge. Let's just call it what it is. They're trying to give the Republicans the advantage. My question, you might, dog. So they're targeting the minority congressional district. That could be viewed as discrimination or law for themselves.
It
Like
is.
you said, somebody gonna even feel. No, they're not. They're going after only the Democrats that's minority, which can be viewed as unconstitutional and discrimination. What you say about that, Mike? Boy, here again, you're a lawyer. You're different. Take the gloves off, Mike.
Well,
Take the gloves.
we got two levers. Thank you very much, and you're right. There's no arguing about it. This is race, but actually, it's worse. They're justifying this, saying that there's discrimination against white voters. That's why their alleged reason they're doing this. This is the evil sister of DEI, where they're basically saying, hey, they need more white representation. Which, at the end of the day, is that really an honest answer? But yeah, we got two levers now. We got the voting booth, which isn't going to happen until next November, and we're working now. We've been working a lot on that for the last 6 months, hard. But our levers now are lawsuits and protest, and we've got both of those going right now. So there's nothing that we have a lever that we can do that we can't. I mean, it's not something where we can show up and burn down the Capitol, because they'll still do their business, and that's not the way we do it in this country. But both levers are working as hard as we can work it. And I'm very comfortable that we're working it hard, because I think we're going to have lots of folks out Saturday, 10 o'clock in your neighborhood. We're going to have them across the county. The more folks out there, the more they start thinking, okay, we've stirred up a hornet's nest, the more they might pay attention and slow down.
Is the media giving it enough attention?
Not
Because
yet.
some of the
No.
problem is
No.
people don't. I mean, again, going back to why KWWJ, KYO, KYOK, KCOA, why they're so important, San Geek, all of them, Latino sports, is because the mainstream media doesn't give enough attention to these things.
The mainstream media in this state is so limited. I mean, the Chronicle's the monopoly here. They've only got so many reporters, and it's shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And unless you happen to, Texas Observer or Texas Tribune and also get it, and you're really engaged, you're not going to have any clue, because there's such a small, they call it a news hole. The news hole is so tiny because they have so few resources to actually cover the news. And that's what's happening.
Well, because it seems to me that not enough people know.
Nope.
And they need to know, no matter what side you're on, that at the end of the day, more media, more attention is good. Overall, it's good for the people to know what's happening to their government with their tax dollars and all around them. Brother Chris, what else do you got for us there, pal?
Well, Mike just said it. He's looking for more white voters, but he's looking for more Republican voters. I guess majority of Republican voters will be white.
Well, that's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do.
What's one of those Republican white voters that have, because it could backfire on, as you say, because what's one of those Republican white voters where a white elected official had the courage to stand up to Donald Trump and say, this is wrong. So you're going to vote. And what they didn't understand is that big beautiful, so-called big beautiful bill, there was nothing beautiful about it all. It negative impact the so-called white Republican voters as well. You got white Republicans out here on Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps, Social Security. So it's also going to impact them. So maybe it'll open their eyes and they say, wait a minute, I just voted against my own best interest. Damn that. And it can be reversed. They'll go along with the right way and vote, because the bills and legislation get passed and policy get passed. It's also impact them in a negative way as well. I hope they realize that. We need to also have more people that's informed, educated voters, because it's not so much who you vote for as well. You got to know what you're voting for as well, because we got to educate people as much as possible. We just can't just give them to vote to vote. We have to have them. They must be educated voters and informed voters. You just keep up the good work, and thank you for taking my call. This is Brother Chris. I'm out.
Brother Chris, thank you for calling in. I really appreciate it. We have another caller here. This is, I think, Father Tom. Let's put in Father Tom.
Yes, hello, Gilbert.
Father Tom, how are you? It's me, Gilbert Garcia with the tip for me, and I have Mike Doyle, the chairman of the Democratic Party here in Harris County. But, Father, and for everyone, this is my priest and my good friend, Father Tom, from Corpus Christi Catholic Church there on Stella Link and Chena, which is just right south of 610. And, Father Tom, we've talked a lot about the flood, and we've talked a lot about, these incredible stories and so forth. It's heart-wrenching, Father Tom. And I feel like I'm a mere mortal. And sometimes, I guess I have a problem of my own faith, because I just can't make any sense of it. And I don't know if there's anything you can share with our listeners about, how do we just keep it together and pray for these families and for all of us, and how do we, really get through these tough times where our faith is being questioned?
This is always a difficult one. But you know what? Listen, I've been on that journey for a very, very long time. And I have seen tragedies and have gone through different times with these, during Hurricane Harvey here in Houston, different things of flooding in where was I? In Cleveland, of a family who lost their son canoeing in a boat. Other tragedies. There's not a day that goes through that there is not some kind of tragedy going through, and some horrific tragedies with all these storms of flooding or tornadoes, hurricanes, fires, whatever it is, people losing their homes, their loved ones, and communities. It's an ongoing thing. And God has warned us, has told us about this in the Gospel of John. John, I don't know, somewhere he says, I have told you all this so that you may have peace here on earth. He says, you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart because I have overcome the world. God is with us in all of these things, as God was with his son when he was going through his passion. And as Jesus was going through his passion, he knew that his Father was with him. And that's what we have to hang on to. Just as, that image of Blair and Brooke, who those little children who died in their early teens, they died clutching each other's hands. Well, it's up for us who are not hurting, whose houses have not been washed away, that we are the ones who are to convey that we are listening, and that we bring compassion and help those first responders for all those drives that are going on. We who are coming in to help those people who are trying to make sense of this. Right now, it's difficult, and hopefully later on it will be possible. I'm reminded of a story of a mother. She had 3 beautiful daughters, and the 2 of them have gone into professional life and that type of thing. The other daughter was making all the wrong choices, finding love in all the wrong places, and finally she's getting her life back together. And she got her life together, found a guy. She graduated from school. Everybody's so happy for this child, and they were killed in a motorcycle accident. Not only that, the other 2 daughters died of something else. So this mother lost her 3 daughters. And people were trying to get her to say, aren't you mad at God? Aren't you mad at God of taking your 3 daughters? And this is where faith comes in. This mother says, I'm not mad at God. I know where my daughters are at. She knew that her daughters were home in heaven. And God is anxious for all of us, to eventually come back to him. Then he knows that we are eternally safe with him, the creator who gave us life. And so it's our faith in God that hearing the stories over and over again, and those who have gone through these things, who have taught me that to have faith in God is everything. But it takes a while for those who are hurting right now.
Well, Father Tom, I really appreciate you calling in. What a story that is. What an incredible human being that mother must be. And again,
mothers are like that.
Yep.
Mothers are like that.
It's an incredible story. It goes back to Mike Doyle, what you said about your faith. It's about faith. Father Tom, thank you so much for calling in, and thank you for those kind words. And I think together we will get through it as a community.
Thank you, Gilbert, and thank you for spending some time on this story. We need to share these stories and to hear about God. And I'll leave you with one more quote from the 2 Corinthians. It says, he comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort others. When they are troubled, we will be able to give them the same comfort God has given us. And so that may that prayer help those who are going out giving comfort and those who need it. God bless you, Gilbert, for doing this and spending some time on this story.
Thank you, Father Tom. God bless you, my friend. Always. That's my priest. Wonderful
Great
man.
priest.
And a great dear friend of ours. I have another caller, or we have another caller. Is there a Joe on the line? Joe, are you there, my friend? Joe.
Corinthian 2. That was what Trump called it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he was giving a speech at
Yeah.
Liberty University.
Is that right?
Because he reads the Bible so much.
Yeah. Joe, are you there?
Yes, sir. How are you this morning?
Good. You got me, Gilbert Garcia, with a tip from me, with Mr. Mike Doyle of the Harris County Democratic Party. What do you got for us today, my friend?
Yes, I had a question for your guest, Mr. Doyle. I was curious, as a person that's, really started paying attention lately. When a candidate runs for office here in Texas and they raise, millions of dollars for their campaign, are they in control of that money, or does the party have an input on how they spend their money? How does that work?
That is a great question. And because I tell people I get blamed for everything the national party does, and they don't give us a nickel. I get blamed for what the state party does. They don't give us a nickel. I get blamed for what every candidate does. Some do support the party because they understand that, at the end of the day, if I'm going to elect folks in Harris County, I got to do it all together. But no, it's their money. So there are Senate candidates who spend $80 million on TV ads and given almost nothing to help us get out the vote on the ground. My job is to encourage those folks gently, firmly, vociferously to understand that, look, all boats rise together. The only way we've got 100, well, it varies, but we've got the longest ballot in the country in this county. And there's about a 4% variation top to bottom. So we either all win or we don't. I mean, there's sometimes a little bit of variation, but that's the whole point.
I did not know that. And the Harris County, and I don't mean to interrupt our caller there, but please stay on for a moment. So the National Party and the Texas Democratic Party do not give any money to Harris County.
Zero.
Because they don't have it,
Well,
or because
no,
they
the
just feel
DNC
that they just feel like, well, y'all are on your own, or you're going to win anyway. I mean, what's the logic?
No. It's because of what Texas, we haven't won statewide in 34 years, but we are fourth in the country. I call it the ATM effect. We have people coming down here pretty much every week. In the last several weeks, we've had Cory Booker, Kristen Gillibrand, Hakeem Jeffries sucking money out of here to go spend it in somewhere else. And they've just decided that they'll give us lip service, but they're not going to give us resources. They spend tons of money across the country. I mean, the Harris campaign had over $1 billion. We didn't get a nickel.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. But here's why, because, end of the day, the most important county in the country is here, because unless and until we get to 58, 59%, there will never be a Democratic president. We cannot win anymore based on, hey, let's go spend it in Pennsylvania. Let's go spend it in Michigan. That strategy is never going to work. We have to do it in Harris County.
That is unbelievable. Joe, what say you, my friend? I want to make sure we're getting your follow-up there.
Right, because I've been looking into this idea myself about a statewide candidate, and I did research on Colin Alfred. According to what I read, he raised $100 million. Now, you said something here that I did research on. There's been no Democratic senator win here in Texas in 30 years. Okay, so why? But you did answer my question. I was one that person. Right?
There's often consultants out of Washington, D.C., who, this is a math question. How much do they get off it, whether it's 13 or 15% of TV ads? So there's a strong push for that, unfortunately.
The money's been spent with consultants, but the idea that a candidate is going to win statewide and then blow $100 million doesn't add up in my mind.
You and me both.
Well, so Colin, he is running, but he's not alone running, right? Are there other candidates now?
Well, there's announced. I mean, I know. Well, for example, James Telcara, he's going to be in Wednesday for an event. He's the representative from Austin. Terry Virts, who astronaut, Air Force colonel, is working hard. He's from here in Clear Lake. There may be others, but those are the three that I've heard more or less are not necessarily announced, but at least are out there. Obviously, Beto's still kind of all over the place. I was actually in Charlotte, North Carolina last week, and he was there doing a rally. So likely more, but at least those three.
And what about on the Republican side? Do you see it being a real difficult primary?
I think Ken Paxton is going to beat Cornyn like a drum because apparently Republican primary voters like crooked, creepy guys. And that's exactly what's going to work. I mean, every poll I've heard about, he's just killing them.
Wow.
And it's, you know, whether you talk about stealing money, whether you talk about, you know, paying off donors to help your girlfriend, whether you talk about, you know, firing your entire staff because they're trying to stop you doing illegal stuff, he's checked every box, and it doesn't matter. He's going to kill him in the primary.
Does that mean that we as Democrats want to run against him, or we don't want to run against him, or we
My
don't really
belief
care?
is, I mean, you know, if they want to have a terrible, crooked, bad human being do it, that's good for us. And shame on us if we can't beat them, no matter who we got.
Very interesting. Joe, what say you there, my friend?
Last question. Listen, has there been any discussion on? I know candidate Yang, when he ran for president, advanced this idea about direct payments to constituents. Has there been any discussion about that at the Democratic national level or the state level?
Well, we had it here in the county. That was actually what was stopped by the Republican legislature in Ken Paxton. We had some direct cash payments in Harris County that's been halted for now. But that was intended to kind of help folks who need the money, not Elon Musk, who they're happy to shovel millions to in this state, in this country. I mean, we
Yes, sir. What was that payment going to come from, the city or
county? There was direct cash payments. There was a program that the county started. I don't think they necessarily, I can't remember.
Did it get off the ground? Did it actually payments go out or no?
They started, and then there was an injunction. So you know, I could be wrong, but I know it was ready to go. And then there was a lawsuit, and then there was some legislative stuff. And so it hasn't happened.
Yeah. Last question. That's third party, but has there been discussion from your organization about direct payments?
Yeah, I mean, put it this way. It's not, we don't have a platform, but those are local. I mean, that's why what's so important when you vote local, the closer to home, the more important. And so when you're voting for county commissioners, it was our county commissioners and our county judge that pushed that through. It was our county attorney, all Democrats, who were trying to defend that against the Republicans. So that's a very good example of this is why it matters who you vote for, not just at the top of the ballot, but all the way down.
All the way down.
Yeah.
All the way down. Joe, hopefully we answered a lot of your questions there, my friend.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to clarify one idea, though. You, as the president of the Democratic National Party here in Texas, correct?
No, I am county chair. In other words, we have a separate organization. I don't work for them. I'm not their boss. They're not my boss. And that's kind of an issue because, like I said, everything everybody has that where they're angry and pissed off about the National Democrats, they want to put on us here. We're working our own voters, our own efforts. We're doing our things. We have our own platform. We have our own candidates. We're trying to protect this county and build it up. We'd love to have help from them, but we don't get it.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you for your time.
Joe, thank you, my friend. We have one more call. Let's get this one in. This is the Watcher on the Wall. Is that what it is called? Are you there, sir or madam? Are you there?
Yes,
Can you hear me, madam?
I can hear you.
Go ahead. You got me. Gilbert Garcia, tip for me. You got about a minute or two before we lose our airtime.
Okay, this will be really quick. What is the Democratic Party, Mr. Doyle, doing here in Texas to get new, younger, more diverse? Well, it's already diverse, but I guess I should say younger people to get into the political process and to run for office. What's your strategy for that, and how are you guys, handling it right now?
Well, I could tell you about Harris County. I could tell you what's going on statewide, but in Harris County, a couple things. One is we have a county tax assessor collector, Lynette, who's working hard to register new voters, and that's going out to high schools. That's talking to kids. She has an office that does nothing but that, and I think she's been doing an excellent job since she came in January. As far as outreach, I mean, we've had since January days of action where we're going out to the community and doing volunteer across the community. There's protests going on, obviously, which is another way to get involved because people got to hear their voice. And if you go to the harrisdemocrats.org site, you're going to see so many things going on in this county that are available for everybody. And we're getting what's kind of heartening. We're seeing hundreds of people at these things, just a community outreach. So once a month, you want to do a community service like out in Alief Community Garden. You want to help clean up the Columbia Tap Trail. We have hundreds of people out there, and it's really because they're deciding I'm not sitting around anymore. And that's what's a really good opportunity. So I'm very proud of the work we're doing in this county. I know we're doing stuff in other counties, but I can tell you in this county, we're working our ass off.
I don't mean to cut us off. You have any quick follow-up? Because we got about 30 seconds.
Yeah, just that, please keep up with that, because that's the reason a few people are considering a third party. So that's something we really need to work on, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in. Mike Doyle, you have the last word. Tell Harris County what you need. And of course, let's go.
Here's what we need. We need every single one of the folks in this county. I don't care what age you are. You can make phone calls to voters. You can get engaged out there in the streets. You can show up at these protests. You can register other folks. There are so many opportunities, and there's zero excuse for not changing this world right now, because it's in your hands.
All right, Houston, this is Gilbert Garcia saying we'll see you next time. This is Gilbert Andrew Garcia of A Tip from Gilbert, talk, inspiration, and prayer. Listen to my show every Monday from 11 to 12 on KWWJ 1360 AM, KYOK 1140 AM, KCOH at 1230 KCOH.com, Sankeet Radio at 95.1 FM, 1460 AM, and Latino Sports, KEYH 850 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then.